Ding.
These guys have a lot to say, and they never stop talking.
Well, and listen to those two clowns.
I am not a happy camper.
I've had enough of that malarkey.
Don't wreck our show, you hoser.
Live from News Talk 1480 WHBC.
It's a household name.
All right, Dan.
It's Kenny and JT.
Oh, you made a wise choice, my friend.
Have a great show!
It is now time to meet the 2026 class of the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
An Iron Man with soft hands, this career Cardinal racked up the second most receiving yards all time. My man, Larry Fitzgerald.
7 Pro Bowls and 5 All-Pro teams in just 8 years. This electric linebacker played his way into the company of legends. Ladies and gentlemen, Pro Football Hall of Famer Luke Kuechly.
No one has scored more points or kicked more field goals. 24 seasons, 4 rings, one at my expense, and now 1 bust in the halls of Canton. Adam Vinatieri.
Oh, yes. He's the first player to ever rack up 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving in the same season. A 3-time Super Bowl champ. We've been waiting to hear his name called to Canton for a long time, and it happens in San Francisco. 49ers legend, Hall of Famer Roger Craig.
20 seasons, 13 Pro Bowls, and the second most passing yards, completions, and touchdowns in NFL history. One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Hall of Famer Drew Brees.
Put your hands together for Larry Fitzgerald, Luke Kuechly, Adam Vinatieri, Roger Craig, and Drew Brees.
Who dat? We should start every show off with Rich Eisen. He sounds really good. We're coming to you live from the corner of 6th and Market in beautiful downtown Canton, Ohio. 26 degrees in this, the Hall of Fame city. Let's go.
And now we have 5 new members to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You just heard Rich Eisen and Kurt Warner rattle them off to you. Congratulations to the 5 newest members. Can't wait to see them in August here in Canton. And you know what, JT? I was off by 1. I didn't have Luke Kuechly in. I had Eli Manning in. Eli doesn't get in, but I did have the kicker in.
Yeah.
Nice job, you effing kicker. Nice job, Adam Vinatieri.
I had Kuechly in, but I didn't have the kicker in, and I had no idea that the kicker was in his second year of eligibility. This is going to bring the number of the Pro Football Hall of Fame up to 387.
How about that? Closing in on 400, 387. Man. And
Yeah.
Roger Craig, God bless him. He waited patiently. First to ever do it. 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving in the same year. You know how hard that was to do back then, JT, right?
Right.
Absolutely amazing. And so congratulations to all of them. Look forward to seeing them in Canton, hearing their speeches. And who knows, maybe we'll get to catch up with 1, 2, maybe all of them at some point.
That was really unique. When they were named to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, you saw the gold jackets that came up on stage. And by the way, the NFL Network did a great job on the NFL Honors TV show last night.
Yeah.
Is the guy's name John Hamm was the host, was outstanding. But I mean, the whole show was actually done better than the Grammys last week. So kudos to the NFL. And you saw the gold jackets on the stage after they named the class. Did you notice how many have been in our studio?
I know. Isn't it great?
It's really
How cool is it that we've had the chance to interview like at least 50 of the 387 now that will be in Canton.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited for this class. It's I was a little disappointed, though. Can't lie here. I was hoping LC Greenwood would be part of this class as well. He was with the senior players.
Right.
And Roger Craig got in over LC. I think LC's deserving as one of the, stellar members of that steel curtain of Joe Green, Ernie Holmes, Dwight White, and LC Greenwood. So maybe next year LC will get in. As you pointed out the other day, these guys are Hall of Famers, right? And so just because they don't get in one year doesn't mean they won't get in the next. But when they do get in, why didn't they get in sooner?
There's always going to be conflict and controversy when it comes down to selecting members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame or any Hall of Fame for that matter. And it takes me back to when we'll start getting the list out of next year's. And even last night, I don't think the ink was even dry on the list of the 2026 class, they already started putting out, well, this is who's available next year. I mean, let us enjoy this for a little while. But when the list comes out, and it's so long, it's amazing how hard it is to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And here it is, a class of 5. And that original list comes out. What does it go up from 100 down to 50, down to 20, 15? And then, of course, they do the selection. It's hard.
Yeah, JT, when they get it down to 15, then they narrow it down to 10, then to 7, and then they're allowed to take up as many as 5. So they took 4 modern era guys and 1 from the seniors, players, contributor, or coaches.
Yeah.
So they could have had as many as 8. They went with 5 this year. Last year it was just 4. So that's, I guess the voting process and how it works. And how about this? Rich DeRozier, who's been on the show many times from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, is in Santa Clara, California with the class of 2026. There he is. There's our good buddy, Rich DeRozier. And Rich is going to join us today at 6 o'clock live to talk about the class of 2026 and a couple of the guys that didn't get in, whether it's Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick, LC Greenwood, and it just makes for great conversation here.
It really is, and it's going to be a special time. It's going to be a great class. I was talking to Dave Motz earlier today, and now, everybody's attention is going to be on, okay, we've got to select a couple of teams to play in this Hall of Fame game, and how are we going to market this thing? And if you think about it, the last time the Saints, I believe, played in the Hall of Fame game, they played the Cardinals. Could we have a rematch of that game?
Hey, you never know, right? Because you want an AFC and an NFC, so you have Saints and Cardinals, the Patriots, so you got to think the Patriots are going to be in it, right?
No,
that's the only AFC team, right?
I don't think so. I would think you would invite the New England Patriots if you put Belichick or Kraft in. Now that you've got Vinatieri coming in, I think maybe you wait on the Patriots. It would make good TV, and it would make for great ratings because you've got Vrabel, Northeast Ohio guy, and you've got the AP coach of the year, assistant coach of the year in Josh McDaniels. But I think you go in a different direction. And the fact remains, they now choose teams not necessarily based on AFC versus NFC. It's who's getting inducted, and somebody has to be represented.
Okay. All right. Then if it's not AFC, NFC, what do you want? I keep looking over here, get my sheet. So, the Panthers and the Saints. The 49ers are always a great draw, right?
Nice.
Because of Joe Montana coming back, Jerry Rice coming back, and everything like that. So we'll have to wait. And, hey, we'll ask Rich DeRozier at 6 o'clock if he wants to let the cat out of the bag on which 2 teams it is already.
It's going to be fun. And, my question to you going into this was knowing that Bill Belichick hadn't made it, Robert Kraft, would that deter from the fact that you're putting in a class? It is a pretty damn good class, if you ask me, and you've got some star power here as well. I can't believe Roger Craig's been eligible for 28 years.
Dude, he was a stud, man.
Where'd that time go, though?
You talk about the ultimate, I guess the best thing, this Swiss Army knife, right? Blocker on blitzes. He can run for 1,000. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He catches passes for 1,000. I mean, this guy was a huge part of Montana, Rice, Taylor, Dwight Clark, and of course, Roger Craig to offset, the passing game, the West Coast passing game that they used under Bill Walsh, and then George Seifert, who took over with Steve Young. So, Roger Craig, no doubt about it. I'm upset that LC didn't get in, because I'm a Stoller fan. I'm a little biased there. But Roger Craig, I thought definitely deserved to get in. That's why Craig and LC getting in. I thought they both deserved to get in from the seniors.
It's a backlog of seniors. And again, I look at these guys like an LC Greenwood, even a Roger Craig, that maybe were doomed due to the success of their own franchises winning so many Super Bowls. And when you're selecting, and maybe the selectors look at it that way too. I mean, hey, we talked about this last week. We thought everybody was going to vote for Bill Belichick. And if you're going to vote for him, maybe I'll vote for LC Greenwood. Next thing you know, somebody's the odd man out, doesn't get the appropriate votes. You needed 40 out of the 50 voters to be named into this class. And next thing you know, this happens. I mean, it's amazing because I think what they need to really start looking at, there's a lot of focus on this first year of eligibility. And maybe they need to start looking at a backlog of some of these senior guys. To me, and I'm not, trust me, anywhere near a Steeler fan. I can't believe, you know what they say, can you tell the story of the NFL without this guy? That's why he's in the Hall of Fame. How can you tell the story of the Hall of Fame or the NFL without Hines Ward being in the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
all-time lead. They have two receivers
I don't get it.
that are in the Hall of Fame in John Stallworth and in Lynn Swann. I think Hines Ward has more receptions than both of them together in the regular season, and he was a Super Bowl MVP like Swann.
Right.
And he's the all-time leading receiver, receptions, yards, and touchdown passes, I think, for the Steelers, and he's not in.
Right.
So, again, JT, like, some people said about Belichick, he was a jerk to the media, right? He cheated. So maybe they held that against him. Well, Hines Ward was looked at as maybe a dirty player by people outside of Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
Didn't like his hard play, playing to the whistle or beyond, crackback blocks and everything along those lines. So maybe that's hurting him, along with the fact that Swann and Stallworth are already in.
Well, there'll be plenty of time to discuss those guys who are not in, but let's go ahead and celebrate the guys that did make it in. And remember how they get voted on. And maybe that's one of the things that the Pro Football Hall of Fame or the selection process will have to tweak, or they'll look at that later on. But right now, all eyes set on the class of 2026, and I can't wait for August to get here, because before you know it, we'll be celebrating pro football's greatest 2 weekends that the Hall of Fame will have, and they'll have dinners and parties, parades, and, food festivals, and I can't wait. It's going to be a great summer.
Yeah, look at that photo right there that Brian's put up. If you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube Live, that's a great photo. I need to get a nice big version of that photo, JT, and then get the signatures below each one or above each one of those guys. That'll be a hell of a collector's item right there. So looking forward to all of the festivities. And Adam Vinatieri is 387. So he's the highest number of all the Hall of Famers right now, and appropriate, JT, because he is the NFL's all-time leading scorer. So he has the highest number of points, and to this point, the highest number as far as Hall of Famers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
And how about Luke Kuechly being the second youngest to be voted in at age 34? Hell, that dude could still be playing.
Wisely got out, had some concussions when he was playing, was dominant in the 7 or 8 years that he actually played for the Carolina Panthers. And he walked away, much like Jim Brown walked away, much like Barry Sanders walked away. And a lot of people are saying a smart move on his part for longevity.
You know who's being compared to Luke Kuechly?
Who's that?
Carson Schwesinger, your defensive rookie of the year in the NFL. And if you were the NFL honors last night, and if you've watched it over the last couple of years, and if you consider the Pro Bowl, and you had your quarterback, even Joe Flacco, who at one time played for the Browns, you had 2 Browns win big awards last night. Wouldn't you think this team was in the playoffs?
Right. And when they win 5 games, you
Unbelievable.
get especially defensively, you got the defensive rookie of the year. You've got the overall defensive player of the year for the second time in his career. He sets the single season record. We're talking about Myles Garrett, 23 sacks. JT was just a beast. And he looked like something from Bonanza last night with his outfit. Did you like his cowboy hat and his whatever he was wearing?
He is from Texas. I mean, they grow everything bigger in Texas. I did love the program, though. And the thing is, and one of the reasons I liked it better than the Grammy Awards is because it was more like one of those roasts. And when you brought out Jeff Ross, I thought it was hysterical. And some of the comments that he made, and I'll paraphrase, Jeff Ross is the Toastmaster. He's the roast master. He's the guy that every time there's a celebrity roast, he comes out and he cracks on him. He came out as a practice squad quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. And one of the last things that he said, and Brian, we'll have to try and find this. I should have texted you earlier. He made a comment about the Cleveland Browns and Myles Garrett winning the sack record and saying, it's amazing you have the all-time sack number and you didn't play against the Cleveland Browns. I thought it was hysterical.
Crappy online, but congratulations to Myles Garrett, deservedly so. Congratulations to Carson Schwesinger, deservedly so. But Brian, put that photo up that you have, because we have to, follow the company guidelines of what photos we can use that we are licensed to use, right? Because Brian and I were looking for photos of Schwesinger. Okay, so throw that photo up, and here it is, the rookie defensive player of the year in this photo. But do you know what this photo is of?
Would that be the touchdown against the Ravens?
Yes, that's the Todd Monken call of Mark Andrews on the tush push, and he spins around and he fakes everybody out, including the defensive player of the year and the defensive rookie player of the year, Carson Schwesinger, who's trailing him there, and he goes for the game-winning touchdown on 4th and 1. How about that?
Lovely.
Hey, Todd Monken loves that photo, and he's hoping to bring that type of offense to the Cleveland Browns. But guess there he is. Todd Monken, hands up, fist up on that one. We got you. We got you, Jim Schwartz, on that play. And maybe that's why Todd Monken got the job. And today we find out Jim Schwartz out. He resigned as the defensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns today. Were you surprised by that, JT?
Not whatsoever, especially after the introductory comments that Monken made earlier this week. I don't think there's a place for him here. And quite honestly, I'm okay with moving on from everyone that was associated with winning 8 games over the last years. And that would include Andrew Berry, who they decided to keep. So one out of all those guys, and you got rid of DePodesta earlier, or he resigned to go back to baseball and run the Colorado Rockies. I think I'm okay with this. Or at least I can say it this way. As we talked about basketball pretty much all week long, you don't have a choice. Now you've got to deal with it. Whether you like Harden or not, he is now a member of your Cavaliers. You're a fan of the Cavaliers. You have to root for the guy. You don't have to like him, but you're going to root for him. It's the same thing here. You don't have to like Todd Monken, but that's the hand you're dealt, man. Get on with it. Let's see if he can do what they hired him to do, what they think he might be able to do, because if he can't, it's a one and doneer again. Who knows?
Yeah. And Brian, throw that photo of Monken up, because I'm going to ask you to play the 2 cuts where we should have known Jim Schwartz wasn't coming back, because at first during the press conference, Todd Monken wouldn't say anything other than he talked to Jim Schwartz, right? But then as that press conference went on earlier this week, cut number 1 here from Todd Monken on Jim Schwartz, we should have known from this.
They're a big reason why I took this job. The defensive players. I didn't take this job because of Jim Schwartz. I have a lot of respect for Jim Schwartz, but as I would hope he has for me. But I took it because of the players that are here, the ownership, Andrew Berry, and the ability to build this roster from the ground up on the offensive side.
All right, so that was cut 1. That was hint number 1 that he gave us, that he didn't want Jim Schwartz. Brian, cut number 2 that kind of sealed the deal. We should have realized it.
When I was preparing for the Cleveland Browns, I wasn't trying to chip Jim Schwartz. I was chipping Myles Garrett. And when I was sliding a protection to the outside backers or Grant Delpit that were blitzing off the edge, I was sliding the protection of the players. And when I was worried about throwing to the right against Denzel Ward or Tyson Campbell to the left, that's who I was worried about throwing at.
Yeah. So those were the clues. You always like to connect the dots. I like to do a deep dive.
Right.
We should have put all that together and said, there ain't no way Jim Schwartz is staying in Cleveland after Todd Monken basically tossed him under the bus right there twice.
It's professional courtesy, and I have the utmost respect for him. Now get out of here, because I got to find a new defensive coordinator. But you know what else he said that we don't have? When he mentioned Ward and Campbell, he also said something to the effect that he's not changing anything. What that alludes to is the fact that pretty much that defense was in man-to-man coverage almost all the time under Jim Schwartz's defense. Monken came out and said he's not changing anything, which to me means he wants somebody to coach in the same type of situation. No zone defenses all the time. Pretty much you've got guys that can cover man-to-man. Let's keep with that, but let's find someone else to call those plays. Now, whether or not they hire from within or they look elsewhere, the fact remains this: the Cleveland Browns are now actively in search of their next defensive coordinator.
They are, and Jim Schwartz resigned. He didn't get fired. He resigned. He had 2 years left on his contract, which means the Browns maintain his rights for 2026 and 2027. Now, 2027 is a team option. So if they wanted to, they could let him out after this season, right? Reports are he's going to sit out this season unless there's somebody that comes and knocking on the Browns' door there in Berea, or gives them a little call and says, hey, we're interested in Jim Schwartz. What type of compensation would you like for Jim Schwartz? So maybe they'll get a draft pick out of this if another team wants Jim Schwartz that bad. You mentioned about the possibility of promoting from within. I think it was Mary Kay Cabot's article today. She listed a couple of current coaches on the defensive side of the ball that will probably get an interview for the defensive coordinator position. That would be linebacker coach Jason Tarver and safeties coach Ephraim Banda. Okay, those are two within the defensive unit right now as far as coaches go. But they must interview two diverse candidates because of the Rooney Rule, and Another name that popped up is Corey Undlin. I had no idea who this was, okay? Corey Undlin right now is the Texans' defensive pass coordinator, and he has ties to the Browns from 05 to 08 when Romeo Crennel was the head coach. He was on the staff there. I love that pizza. And so there's another name to throw in there. So Tarver, Banda, and Undlin, remember those three names.
I've got news for you. If you want to become, I guess, what would you call the coordinator position, offensive and defensive coordinator, just underneath the head coach? If you want to be a high-ranking official of a coaching staff in the NFL, cut your chops with the Cleveland Browns, because it seems as though every coach in the league at one time or another was somehow associated with the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I mean, go back, Kyle Shanahan. Look
man.
at what he's done now. You look at we just mentioned all the way back to Romeo Crennel, this Undlin. So all through the years, while the head coaches have stunk for the most part, right, their assistants have probably done better than the head coaches have done, basically learning what not to do with the Cleveland Browns as a coach and then taking that and turning it into a positive elsewhere.
You can go back to Nick Saban. There have been so many assistant coaches on this team in this franchise that have ended up being really good coaches. We talked a little bit about Bill Belichick, but at least he was a head coach here. Didn't have that much success, but we know he ends up being, the second winningest coach of all time in the NFL. But it just seems as though when you look at the assistants, whether they're a receiver coach or, a defensive assistant, they go on to bigger and better things. Occasionally they come back, though. So let's hope it works. Hell, Todd Monken was here before.
Right. There you go. Only one season, but less than 6 or 7 years ago, and he's now the head coach. And I started watching more interviews with Todd Monken on social media. And JT, and I know, because believe me, I've said over the years, hey, he won the press conference, but that doesn't mean doodly squat if he can't do it on Sundays, if he can't make decisions in the final 2 minutes of the game, when to call timeout, when not to call timeout, play calling and all that. But I had a very low opinion of the hire of Todd Monken. I felt that they settled for Todd Monken. Nobody else interviewed him, right? And the Browns guys were saying, no, thank you. One went back to being a coordinator. One took the job in Baltimore. The other one just said, no, thanks. I'm turning down any more interviews for the job. So it's like three young guys that they were supposedly very interested in said, no, thank you. So it's like, okay, well, I've got to believe that means there's three that, were higher up than Monken. But after him getting the job, reading more about him, seeing the press conference and seeing these other interviews, I'm feeling a little bit better about him because he is an offensive mind. He said some very impressive things. Let's see if he follows through on them. And guess what? There will be no distraction now with Schwartz gone, right? And I think that's what you were pointing to, right? You wanted a fresh start for everybody, including the locker room and everything like that.
Well, the thing you have to remember about Todd Monken, like I said earlier, you're stuck with him. You just got to give him the opportunity now. And speaking of opportunity, his opportunities were running out. I mean, at 60 years old now, some of those young guys who may have backed out and says, I'm not interested in interviewing for this position are going to have probably multiple chances to interview throughout their career. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Maybe they wake up one day and they're 59 years old and didn't give themselves the opportunity to interview with a team like the Cleveland Browns, and they missed their chance to be a head coach. Let's hope that's not the case. Let's hope this guy comes in, has some success. You look at 10 picks in the draft. You look at what they can do posturing and adding to this team through free agency and see if somehow, some way, this guy, because remember, not only does he win the press conference, he won the interview. Let's see if he can deliver a team that can score more than 15 points.
Yeah, let's hope so. Fingers crossed for all the Browns fans out there. And by the way, congratulations. We kind of mentioned it briefly, but Josh McDaniels, again, local guy, done well, right? McKinley's own. Yes, he knows what it takes to win a Super Bowl. He's got rings and all of it, but assistant coach of the year, Josh McDaniels, deservedly so, to go along with, as Tiffany Haddish called him, Mike Verbal.
Oh, there was a lot of people that got their names, but did you see the guy that tried to pronounce Jackson Smith and Jigba's name?
I didn't see that one.
Google that one.
We shouldn't feel so bad because everybody's screwing up at some point with names. Is that right?
We'll get a break in right
we
now.
do it on a regular basis.
We'll come back. We'll take some phone calls as well. We've got Scott Petrak at brownzone.com, top of the hour. High school baskets later on this evening. We'll talk about Manchester at Northwest, but this is it. The Friday celebration for the new class of the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
It's Kenny and JT